comes in and creeps in. And it is a factor. Eventually you have to settle, you have to pay much more than what it is worth. But frankly, your power is waiting to flow and they're just holding you ransom for a little bit. It is a challenge.
Thank you. I'd like to bring in some questions from the floor, please. And if we can keep the Twitter model of having your questions in 140 characters, we can take more questions as well. I'll be collecting the questions, and please do introduce yourself and keep it as short as possible. From the gentleman here, we'll go across.
Hello, thank you. I'm Rupinder Singh. I'm inventor. Sir, we don't have a load management policy. For example, there are consumers who have generators. Very efficient generators, human generators. So what actually happens is they don't switch off the power when there is a shortage. They don't switch off the power of consumers who already have, highly efficient generators. And we switch off the power, to domestic consumers, who have 1 or 2 kilowatt of load, and they are using inefficient inverters or generators. So we are, instead of, you can say, switching off 1 or 2% of the consumers.
But sir, what's the question, if you could be
precise? Sir, my question is, we don't have a load management policy.
Okay.
Sir, I have written this for last 5-10 years that we must have a load management policy.
Right. So I think we got that. Thank you. Next question, the gentleman. Can you pass it to the gentleman on your right? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Sanjay Behel, Director with Sai Institute of Management. Sir, my question to Roy sir is, we are talking about clean, green power, but we have not done enough in the nuclear power. Of course, things are on the board. I think we must go very quickly to this and shed off towards the coal and other.
Thank you.
And another suggestion you can say to Devansh is, why can't we get into the partnership with the farmers? Instead of buying their half acre of land, we can build, we can transfer to them and take power from them. We will empower the farmer also over there. Please.
Thank you. Right. Can you just pass the mic along, please, the gentleman there, and then I'll come to the back.
Myself, S.K. Jindal. So I am from DRDO. So my question is same, the nuclear power, number one. Number two, we have been telling that 40,000 megawatt NTPC is generating and there is a demand of 28 or 25,000 megawatt. I don't agree to it. There is a national grid which distributes the power all over India, and we can distribute the power time-wise. See, 8 hours to some state, to some industry. See, as a totality in the nation, there is acute shortage of electricity. See, this we have to agree. See, our management is not proper. See, that a national grid is there. That
What's
grid,
the question, sir? What is your point?
Yeah, my question is that we have to make a national grid and we have to go in for the nuclear power so that we can fulfill the requirement of the power so that we can grow rapidly.
Sure. Thank you. The gentleman there.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
There was a gentleman behind you, but I'll come to you in a second, please.
I'm Chetan Choudhary, President Rajkot Management Association, to be the native place of the founder of the renewable energy, Tulsi Tanti. My question to Devansh, as I see a sparkle in his eyes, the history is not favoring, Indian history is not favoring renewable power energy, because we have a southern company, NTPC Mekon, failed miserably, and we see riches to rags for...
So you're raising a question on the future.
Yeah, that is what I'm asking me. What challenges you feel like you need to address for sustainable model of renewable energy?
I think...
Devansh, I'll come to everybody later.
Good afternoon. My name is Rajiv Engle, and I'm from a company called UFlex. I'm a HR professional. We talked about sustainable energy, power and all. One thing which comes to my mind is that there is a lot of unauthorized use of power. So as a public and private partnership, do you think we should do something? We should have some, stringent policies or something, which can control this part, because that is also a very important point.
I think this was addressed in the question we got on theft of power. Yes, these three questions, then we'll have to take a pause. So you'll have to...
Sir, my name is A.K. Sethi. We have seen for the past 6 decades rail engines of the steam converted to diesel and then to electricity. And we are talking that the power is the backbone of the country. We talk about indigenous and the fuel management, but risk to environment. 6 decades ago, also it was existing. Today also it is existing. Don't we feel that this environment obstacle is the great obstacle for the power sector?
I'm not sure what the issue is. Okay. Okay, hydropower. Okay, I didn't get that part.
My name is Himadri Das. I'm with the Great Lakes Institute of Management. The question is for Devansh. You mentioned solar and wind hybrid. Have you considered biofuels in the hybrid mix? The reason I ask this is because with its on-off, quick on-off capability, when you have vagaries in wind and solar production because of the weather, you can kind of top it up with bio.
Thank you. That's a good question. The gentleman behind you, and then I'll just have to limit it to the gentleman behind you, right next to him. Behind him, yes.
Sir, my name is Dr. P.K. Verma. I'm Director Economic Development Trust. Sir, my question is, Mr. Choudhary Saab, what is the per unit cost of production when we are talking about on the production side? I mean the hydroelectric, then wind, then nuclear. What is the per unit cost of production? We are talking about affordability to pay. Then it has important considerations, sir. What is the...
Thank you.
So that
Thank
we
you
can
very
see on
much.
comparative analysis side, sir.
Yeah, but that's a research project. But I'm sorry, I'll have to pause it here. Mr. Choudhary, if you could begin. There are several issues, load management, nuclear power, if you'd like to take those.
Okay, I think I'll try a little bit on whatever was said. And forgive me if I can't fully satisfy you. You could always send a mail to that. On the grid management, I think POSOCO is doing a fantastic job, Those of you who are not aware of POSOCO's, what they're doing, could send a mail to them, I'm sure. And I'll tell Sony, who's the head of POSOCO, to respond to you personally on whatever queries you send. But it's a little difficult to actually integrate the grid with solar, wind, and base load, because you don't get all of them together, or sometimes you get all of them together. The PLF of wind and solar is between 20-25, whereas the thermal is running at 80-85. So these are the issues which they have to manage. But basically, they also have to look at the demand, and we must understand that the states, their demand is not on, there's a difference between peak shortage and demand. Demand is more on their paying capacity. They have a budgetary support on electricity, and beyond that, they don't buy electricity. So it's not because of any shortage that they don't buy. They don't buy because of not having adequate money to subsidize power, which is happening today. And whether that's the right way of doing it or not is something which I said in the beginning. On the nuclear addition, I quite agree with you that nuclear probably is a good solution. But every time that we went one step forward, we had a Chernobyl or we had a Fukushima, then we came 2-3 steps down. I think we do need nuclear. Now we are looking up on nuclear. On the hydro, I think we made a little mistake some 60-70 years back. We should have tapped all our hydro. Now today we know we have immense hydro potential in the country, but we have so many other dimensions that we are not able to really tap the hydro. And I agree with this house that totally we must tap the entire hydro potential of the country. That is the cleanest and best source of power that can act also as a peak load or peak power supplier to the country at times. I would like to touch upon 2-3 things. One is the risk to the environment due to the way we are going on today. Now, believe me, somebody raised this question. I can leave behind a table here which tells you what is the per capita CO2 emission that we have compared to the rest of the world. Our per capita CO2 emission is 1.6, whereas that of the US is 16.2. So when we talk of that, we must understand that we are nowhere compared to polluting the world that others are doing. But still, I agree with you that we should slowly ease out of coal generation. But we cannot do that now because that is our cheapest form of energy, because coal is our internal domestic fuel that is available for generation of electricity. I don't know, let me just go back and see if there is one more point. I think I noted down.
On load management?
Cost, on the load management, I did tell them that POSOCO is doing the load management.
And
I think what was asked to me was on the cost of production. And let me tell you that cost, the generating electricity by the thermal mode or hydro mode also, has two basic components. It has a fixed component and the variable component. On the fixed component, a developer like Mr. Goenka or myself, we have some choice of trying and making it as cheap as possible so that you have a fixed component which is cheap and it keeps on depreciating for the next life cycle of the project. On the variable component, which is actually the cost of coal and the railway transportation of the coal, that is what it happens for us, we have no control. And in generating 1 unit of electricity, 80% of my cost is the variable cost. So that I just wanted to tell you. It's only 20 to 25% which is my fixed cost and which we try and keep as low as possible. I just want to fleetingly mention the hybrid concept.
Sure.
The hybrid concept is wonderful, provided it is an off-grid concept. So if we can really do an off-grid model of hybrid, we would be willing to support such a model. But on the biofuel, let me tell you, the problem is that as Mr. Sanjiv also mentioned a little while ago, discipline is an issue in our country. If you tie up the biofuel, maybe with the husk of the rice or the sugarcane, this thing, and you do your entire costing and your financial modeling using one cost for the husk, the farmer will start doubling the cost the moment he realizes that you started generating some money and got into economic development. Then it becomes unviable. So many people have lost money while thinking that they could do a hybrid on this. I think that's all.
Thank you. Yeah, you covered most of the point. Devansh, this is a good beginning for you, starting from hybrid and issues of biomass.
I think we have 2 or 3 points, but I'll start with the biofuel point, which was raised by somebody there. You know, what we're talking when we talk of hybrid is using the existing infrastructure and the existing locations to generate power. When you talk of biofuel, first of all, you need to be located in regions where you get the husk or the sugar cane or the wheat waste products. The biogas plants or the biofuel plants are more like peak load plants, which can honestly be set up at any point in time in any region, subject to you having long-term commitment with respect to the fuel source. It necessarily does not go in with the hybrid concept, because what's unique to India is typically we generate wind during the night hours and solar is generated during the day hours. So by combining these two things, what we're trying to do is take the 20-25% PLF more towards 50 or 55% PLF, which would not only provide grid stability, but would also optimize on the land use as well as use the existing infrastructure without blowing money to create, a duplicate infrastructure in different parts of the region. I suppose that would be on the biofuel side. I think there was another question by somebody there on Rajkot being the den of wind and you guys having a bad experience there. And I think we need to understand what happened in the past. About a decade or a decade and a half ago, when renewables started or wind started in India, it started more as a tax break, as an incentive to save tax. It was not focused on efficiency. It was not focused on large investments. It was not focused on the right technology, on operations and maintenance capabilities. You typically had people buying a 500 kilowatt turbine or a 250 watt kilowatt turbine, doesn't even know which state the turbine exists in. There's no concept of wind resource assessment. There's no concept of operations and maintenance, outdated technology, whether it's the right technology for the country and so on and so forth. I wouldn't want to comment on specific companies because you can always have companies going boom and bust and you can always have companies doing well. But I think what's changed today is today we're looking at renewables as mainstream power. We're looking at renewables to solve the power problem in India. We're looking at renewables we're looking at people who are looking at investing 1 gigawatt, 2 gigawatt, 3 gigawatt, 4 gigawatts in renewables. large-sized guys who are focused on efficiency, operations and maintenance, and the best turbine for Indian climatic conditions. So you need to change the mindset from looking at this as a tax break solution to now looking at it as mainstream power. I suppose, that's how we need to look at it.
That's a very good point, because the objective was never to make power, it was to encash subsidies. One quick point, if you can give a 30-second answer, Devansh, is about partnering with farmers and having a win-win situation. Is that possible?
It surely is possible, but again, in a 50-acre plot, what I'm buying is really half an acre. So half an acre, honestly, is not going to make any difference, because for the remaining 49.5, he anyways gets an annual lease. So we are honestly actually already partnering with farmers.
Right.
I mean, even on half an acre, I can't cut that to 0.25 of an acre, right?
Right. One quick comment from you, Sanjiv. A lot of issues were raised, and then we'll have to close the session.
Well, I think almost all the issues have been addressed by both the other panelists. But all I'd like to say is power is not simple. When you talk of tariff, you talk of your fuel cost, you talk of the transportation of fuel, you talk of your cost of generation, which is actually a limited part. Then you talk of the cost of transporting the power, which is taking the power through the grid. And then you have cross-subsidy charges imposed by different state electricity boards. So, and then you have electricity duties. So all these compose the total power tariff that is charged. So what is within the control of the utility is actually very limited. What we can focus on is our own efficiencies. What we can't focus on is someone else's efficiencies.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll just close on the point that I started with an allusion to cricket. We can have too much of cricket, but I'm sure the panel and all of you would agree we can never have too much of power. So thank you very much for joining us, and please join me in thanking the panelists for their...
Thank you, Mr. Goenka, Dr. Choudhury, and Mr. Jain for sharing your thoughts with us, and Mr. Pranjal Sharma for conducting the session. I would now request Mr. H.M. Nerurkar, President AIMA, to present mementos of our appreciation to our esteemed speakers at the session. Our thanks to Mr. Goenka. Dr. Choudhury. Sincere thanks to Mr. Jain. And before I invite you all to join us for the lunch break, please do make a note on the other side of the break. We have a very important session coming up with Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, Minister of Communications and Information Technology, Government of India. We would start the session sharp at 1:30 p.m. Please do note that lunch is being served at Allure pre-function area. Please take your lunch there. Please make a note. Lunch is being served at Allure pre-function area. Please proceed for lunch. Thank you.